Here we go. Let's get Facebook going. Facebook's always the slowest. Fetching video stream in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Hey, there we are. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to Torn
Hello.
Tuesday. I'm
Hi.
Justin. I'm going to
I'm
try
Hannah.
to talk over her every time she talks.
That's not fun.
No, that's rude.
That's very rude. Yes.
That is Justin, and that is Hannah. And
What's up?
Cliff should be in the blank space, but Cliff is an ent, and he shows up when he means to, doesn't he?
Yeah.
All the
He's-
time.
I don't know. I don't know where I was gonna go with that joke.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Hey, Chuck just joined us. Jared's in there. Helen Ford. Hey, this is your weekly dose of all things Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. We've been doing this podcast. It's not really a podcast. It's just a live show. We've been doing it for 6 years.
Like a web show.
Over 300 episodes. What would you call this? You're a kid with the coolness. Like, is this a podcast? Is this a live stream?
Gosh.
Like, what do the kids call live shows?
Probably like like a web show. Because I mean it's video. I don't know. I'm not cool. You're asking the wrong person. I don't know.
It should be a webcast. What do you mean I'm asking the wrong person? Aren't you trying to go to college for film school stuff?
Yes.
And the future is digital online. Shouldn't you know this stuff? Hey, Jeff Scott just said hello from Napier, New Zealand.
Oh, hello.
Hello, New Zealand. Pete Ritzert says Hannah is our go-to cool kid.
Oh no, Pete, no, please.
Oh
No.
boy. Hey, what's on your shirt today,
boy.
Hannah?
Uh-oh. Huh?
What's on your shirt today?
Oh, it's Sam Wise's quote that's like, there's still good in the world. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm wearing Yoda.
3 words, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. You quote Samwise, I quote Star Wars. People have asked what's up with the with the hat, and it's because Bofer.
Well, don't you know you're Bofer?
Yeah, someone made me this hat. You guys are amazing. The viewers have sent us so many wonderful things, including this little plush Bofer to match my other friend that made this hat. And I don't know how they made the thing stick out, but this is amazing, and you guys are so amazing.
That's crocheted. I can't do crochet. Yeah.
I think the hat suits you, Justin, says Emily Cheatham. Jeff Scott says, looking forward to see you in July at San Diego Comic-Con. Hey, I am too. Hey, let's try to get Cliff on the...
Is he trying to join?
Yeah, we hit Clifford Broadway. Remember, you can Skype us anytime at the One Ring Net.
Be a part of it.
And you can also text us. The phone number to text me and Cliff is at the top of the screen.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hey, there's Cliff.
Well, hello there. How you doing, guys?
Very good.
Got some weird lighting going on here, but that's okay.
It's very
That's all right.
dramatic.
Yeah.
That does look like interesting lighting. What's going on there?
Oh, I'm by like our old lamp, so yeah.
Okay, hi guys.
That's about it.
Hi.
It looks like a classic iridescent bulb. You know, not one of these LEDs or halogens. It looks like a warm, comforting light.
Yes. Unless you look into the
Hi,
bulb,
Justin.
it hurts your eyes.
Hey, Cliff. Thanks for holding down the fort without me while I was at Sundance for the last couple weeks. Sorry I couldn't join you. It was pretty crazy up there.
Hey, that's okay. I was glad to hold down the fort and make a lame attempt to do, an actual show on my phone.
What? It wasn't lame.
Really? Oh, come on.
Hey, calm down. It wasn't
walking people down in my garden downstairs. No. Hilarious.
Hey, Cliff, I know it's a couple days late.
Your garden was pretty.
Everyone should wish Clifford Broadway a happy birthday. He just had a birthday.
Yes.
Thank you.
He just had a birthday. Happy birthday.
You're one.
That was.
You're 1 year closer to being Bilbo's age when he left his house. Do you think you'll go on an adventure when you turn Bilbo's age?
You better believe it. You better believe it.
Where do you want to go?
Everybody knows I'm quite ready for another adventure. So,
hey, this is a good idea. Is there a travel agency or a travel package for people that turn 50 years old? Because Bilbo and Frodo were both 50 years old when they left the house, did they not?
Yeah, I think. Maybe close to that. I better look that up. I guess I better look that up.
Yeah.
But you know what?
I thought they were 50 years old. Both of them. Both of them when they left
the house.
Wait
a second. Are you reading it? Are you reading it?
I'm just trying to drop knowledge here. But I think it would be cool to have a travel package for 50-year-olds that takes you to Middle-earth or takes you to England, and you can visit the pub and everything and be an adventurous 50-year-old. What do you guys think in the chat room? The chat room is exploding with energy right now.
I can imagine. But I'm shocked, completely shocked that you would give away my age like that. I mean,
no,
what do you... AJ never gives away her age, darling. You know that.
I've never.
Here you are telling everybody on Facebook. All about.
Let's go to our co-host.
All about my business.
Okay?
Hannah, did I reveal his age? Yes. No, I just said he's 1 year closer to being Bilbo's age. I did not reveal your age.
All right, guys, look.
I mean, if you know the age, then maybe, but,
No one in the chat room knows. I did not reveal anything, Cliff. As far as I know, you're 42. Didn't I call you 42 yesterday?
42. 42 is Doug Adams' answer for life, the universe, and everything. As we all know, it's 42.
Yes.
Caitlin Griffin says, I'm 61 years old. Can I still go? Yeah, of course. You go on an adventure. How old was Bilbo when he left his birthday party?
Hold on. Let me look that up real quick.
Oh, come on. Serious?
Mm-hmm. Serious. That's right.
How old was Bilbo when he left his birthday party, surprisingly?
111.
Oh, my gosh. Cliff.
Oh, my
Your love of the halfling's leaf has left you, something.
Don't even. You can't even give me that. Don't even.
Hey, so, we've got 3 generations of Tolkien fans here. Cliff, I believe you were alive while Tolkien was alive, albeit for a brief moment. And I was not born until after Bakshi's and Rankin and Bass animated versions of Tolkien's thing. And then, Hannah, you didn't even see the Lord of the Rings in theaters, did you?
I was born when Tolkien was born. I just look very young for my age. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Hey, Edwin Droog says, I'm 56. No one cares. Hey, what do you mean? Everyone cares.
No. No one cares at this point in time. No one cares how old you are anymore. People care about your output as an artist. They care about what you're doing as a writer, as a director. If you're in the performing arts, at least, people are really not that interested. Meryl Streep does not get flack for getting older. She gets better and better and better. So people are really just interested in your output and what you're contributing to the world. And at the grand age of 49, I'll admit it out loud, I am very much looking forward to the big 5-0 next year. It's going to be an amazing party. It's going to be a party of special magnificence.
And you're going to disappear.
I just might. But the answer is yes. Bilbo was 50 years old when he went out on the quest of Erebor, and everybody knows he was 111 years old when he left Bag End that fateful night and dropped the ring on the ground. But that really didn't happen in the book that way, but yeah, you get it.
Hey, I've always wondered, Cliff, it is official canon in the books that people who come in contact with the ring have their life prolonged in some capacity. Is this correct?
They do.
Is there a mathematical formula or any sort of
No.
algorithm that tells
No.
you how much
No.
contact you have determines how long your life will be?
Do you know what? There's a Snapchat filter that I just published. Everyone's going to love it. You put in, how long have I had the ring? Value X. Okay? And all of a sudden it makes your face go, yeah, just slowly towards that horrifying, disfiguring look of either Gollum or that one flashpoint where Bilbo freaks out in Rivendell and tries to grab the ring for half a second.
Oh, so, yes.
Somebody should get smart and make a Snapchat filter that does that. But
do you think there is do you think it can be mathematicalized?
No.
I mean, how long did Samwise how long did Samwise have extra life, and how long did he have the ring?
Samwise had the ring for probably less than a couple of days total. Okay. It may have been a total of 3 days, maybe, at the most.
Like 2.5, possibly.
It depends upon how long it took him to survey the Tower of Cirith Ungol and how much time it took before he followed the orcs who had taken Frodo's body. At the time, he thought that Frodo was dead. And he stayed behind the wall because it got shut. And he, as you remember reading the book, Hannah, you'll remember that Samwise was stuck, and he made that fateful decision after he heard their voices beyond the wall, and he had to find his way into the Tower of Cirith Ungol. It may have been no more than 1 day, to be honest. So no, the measurable effects of the ring are based upon how long you have it and how much of a constitution you have. And hobbits, as we know, had much more resilience. They had a much stronger constitution, and they handled the effects of the ring far differently than, say, Isildur.
Does Tolkien even say that Samwise had a prolonged life or prolonged youth? Is there any discussion about that?
No, not at all. The interesting case with Samwise, what's really unusual is not that he had any long life. There wasn't any weird longevity effects of Samwise having the ring. What was weird about Sam's situation, ultimately in the end, was that he was given the grace to get on a ship and sail overseas to Valinor. That was a bit interesting. I mean, that was quite an eyebrow-raising moment. That the fact that Bilbo got to go when only elves are supposed to go, period. The fact that Bilbo and Frodo and Samwise at the end of his years.
Well, eventually Gimli as well.
Wait, what?
That's even freaky. That is the ultimate freaky footnote. Thank you for mentioning that, Hannah. I'm glad you said that.
I'm just saying.
Wait.
He finally got to see his girlfriend again.
Galadriel?
Yeah.
Gimli goes to the Undying Lands?
Yes, in the book he does. You have to read that in the appendix. It's not even in the body of the novel. It's in the appendix, man. And that is where Amazon is going to get all their storytelling from. That content that you raised your eyebrows right now, and you were like, oh, shock, surprise. I did not know that happened to my favorite dwarf character. And there's going to be a lot of people who will be watching that Amazon show. They will be likely just as surprised by stuff that's in the appendices that they're not paying attention to.
Hey,
I believe we have a gold mine of storytelling stuff in the back of the book.
Hey, Hannah, Elizabeth in the chat room says her mother says hello.
Oh, hi.
Sorry, I'm putting my nose.
That's so awkward. I'm like, oh.
Chantel Roberts says, I still have a crush on Samwise. He's a hero. Of course. He is the hero.
He is the hero. The story is all about Sam, in case you guys didn't know.
That was Tolkien's favorite character that he created, which I found interesting. I just found that out like a week ago.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Samwise Gamgee was the favorite character of Tolkien that he created.
Does Tolkien ever explicitly mention which character he ascribes his own self to? Are you picking your teeth?
He compares himself to Bilbo quite often, I think.
Okay. Yeah, just in general, like with the hobbits, but yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Did his kids, the recently retired Christopher Tolkien, did they ever attribute their own selves to any of Tolkien's characters? Did they see themselves in any of the personalities of the books?
Not that I know of.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that they have at like one point or another.
Wouldn't you be, I don't know, not offended, but wouldn't you be kind of like taken aback that, your father creates a world of dozens and dozens of feature characters and none of them have a relation to you?
I wouldn't really be offended because, this is just my own opinion. I wouldn't really be offended because, personally, like, I'm trying to think how to answer this.
I would never, if my mom was a famous author, like if my mom was J.K. Rowling, I wouldn't necessarily expect her to stick me in as a cameo in her novels. I wouldn't necessarily expect that.
Yeah, but not totally. But wouldn't you think that you have an influence on your parents' creative output in some capacity?
Well,
yeah, that's true. I mean, if you're talking like attributes to a character, like, Joe Schmo, my kid Joe Schmo eats a ton. This character, he thought he was going to eat a ton. I don't know.
But
that was a really bad analogy.
No, it's a good analogy because
really bad.
Particularly with Tolkien's children, because let's face it, Beren and Luthien is Tolkien and his wife. So your father has immortalized your mother in his stories in a significant capacity, and they even put it on their headstones. Don't you think that wouldn't you feel a little weird that, hey, how come mom gets a character? And, how important am I to you, Dad?
Well, the next time I go to England and I go to the Tolkien Society Oxenmoot, which is something I plan on doing this year, if Priscilla Tolkien is there, and sometimes she actually does go to the Oxenmoot, and there are opportunities for the really hardcore academic fans to meet her at a private event and talk with her. And this might be a question that I would put to her. It's a very thoughtful question. I like the idea of exploring how, paternal connection, which was very strong. Everybody knows that Professor Tolkien wrote these stories that became The Hobbit to entertain his children. And he told them lots of stories and poems about a Tom Bombadil doll that one of his boys was playing with. It ended up in the toilet one. And that's how Tom Bombadil, the character, came to be.
Interesting.
Tom Bombadil is based on one of his son's favorite dolls. A little guy with shiny boots, yellow hat, etc. And even we know from Christmas stories that are in the Father Christmas letters, all of that energy that Professor Tolkien had was dedicated to entertaining his 4 children. He was very involved. Father.
Roverdown as well. I think so. I think. Roverdawn?
Roverandom.
Rover.
Yeah. Well, Nathan Brozek in the chat room, I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, just brought up an actual quote from Tolkien. This is great research. He says, quote, "As far as any character is like me," Tolkien wrote, "it is Faramir. This resemblance is particularly clear when it comes to Faramir's views on war, which are very much influenced by Tolkien's own opinions after World War I. As Faramir said, 'I do not love the bright sword for its sharpness. I love only that which they defend.'"
Yep.
I know that.
I would have never guessed that.
I have come across that before.
Either. It's like one of the most random characters that, It's odd.
Hold on a second. Let me get my headphones.
Oh, okay. I have a story.
Okay, go ahead.
I got a story. All right. So, yesterday was Spirit Week at my school, and I decided to dress up. Well, kind of dress up as like a mermaid-inspired whatever, right? So I was wearing this like vest, roughly thing-ish, and my drama teacher looks at me and goes, "You remind me of somebody from Lord of the Rings." And I go, "Okay, who?" And then he goes, "Well, Samwise's girlfriend in The Hobbit." And I looked at him and I go, "Really? Hobbit?" And then he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, Lord of the Rings." And then I go, "Okay, that's better." But
Rosie, he thought that you reminded him of Rosie Cotton. How sweet.
I had like blue makeup on because I was a mermaid. But I was like, really? Why? And then so there's this one other guy at my school, and he's interesting. But he goes, "Yeah, okay, what about me?" And then my drama teacher for like 30 seconds just looked at him and goes, "Gollum," and then continued on his way. It was so funny. I was literally crying in the middle of class because it was so funny.
Hey,
tears were rolling down my face. I was laughing so hard.
That's hilarious.
Hey, speaking of Gollum, we got a great question from the chat room. If Gollum had survived as a ring bearer, would he have been permitted to go to the Undying Lands?
No, because that whole reward was being offered for the sacrifice that those characters made in defending Middle-earth, not trying to keep all that shit for themselves. Are you kidding? No, the gods and goddesses, the powers of Valinor were not... No, it wasn't because of bearing the ring. It was because of the sacrifice the individuals made in their lives handling that troubling business.
It's the choices they made.
Yep.
Loving this lighting. It's getting darker, and I'm going, wah!
So that gives added weight to the chapter titles, like the choices of Samwise, correct?
Yes, it does.
Do we give enough weight to the chapter titles, and do you think Tolkien, made a strong effort to come up with great titles, appropriate titles?
He sure did. Yeah, he absolutely did. He was so super thoughtful about that. He was aggravated that his publisher wanted to split The Lord of the Rings into 3 parts. Tolkien was forced to come up with book titles that he never wanted and never planned for volumes 1, 2, and 3. That was never the plan. It was always 6 books. It was chunk, 6 books, because they're called books 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in Roman numerals in The Lord of the Rings. When you get a single volume edition, that's what it is. It's 6 books.
Hey, Danny.
The publisher said, let's split 2 books per volume. There's a paper shortage after the World War, and Tolkien was forced to come up with The Return of the King, and he wanted it to be the War of the Ring, because he got upset saying, you're giving away the ending. You're giving away too many details with the title called The Return of the King. It should be a bit different and not give that away. He wanted to call the 3rd volume The War of the Ring. That's what he wanted to call it. But there you go. His publisher said no.
You know, is there any published correspondence between Tolkien and his publishers, both from the Hobbit era and the Lord of the Rings era? Is there a book that or a place that we can read about his communications with his publisher?
We've talked about it on this show many times, my friend. It's the published letters. You get a copy of Tolkien's letters, it's the best. It is the most enlightening thing you'll ever read. It's even more enlightening in learning about his life and his opinions than reading the biography, the authorized biography.
Was there any conversation, especially during The Hobbit, that the publisher had any concerns that, if this was to be a children's story or children's book, how could they identify with a 50-year-old homebody?
Nope.
No?
No. Look, nobody pestered the guy who wrote Wind in the Willows because Mr. Toad was too old to be the central character of an episodic children's story.
Well, he is a toad.
So, no, wait. Yeah, no. It was like there's a great analogy there. Bilbo Baggins is, comparatively speaking, on that level of Mr. Toad from Wind in the Willows. It's not necessarily true that everybody says you've got to do children as the focal point of a children's story. It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
There are many examples. So, C.S. Lewis, however, decided to keep his children, at least the Pevensie children, at that certain age. None of his other characters matter what their chronological age are. But, even Eustace in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, he's young. And, the Pevensie kids grow older, ultimately. Ultimately, they're adults somewhere later in the Narnia, right? So there was no discussion about the publisher saying to Tolkien, you're not going to sell as many books because Bilbo's in his 50s. That was never discussed. What was charming and powerful and interesting about The Hobbit was given a test drive by Rainer Unwin giving the manuscript to his son. Remember, he was paying his son a couple of shekels for reading early proofs of children's novels to see if they could be published. And he got a glowing review. Rainer Unwin said, okay, I realize there's no better audience to judge the value of a children's book than a child. And The Hobbit got a glowing review, and he loved it. And so Rainer Unwin, published the book. And the rest, as we know, is history. So it was given that ultimate test drive. The test marketing, it happened back then in the 30s as well.
So do you know how old Tolkien was when he published The Hobbit?
You just have to do a little bit of math.
We looked it up earlier this week and had a little tweet thread about it. Tolkien was 45 years old when The Hobbit was published.
In 1937.
Do we know how long? I mean, everyone uses the common knowledge that he'd been working on these his entire life ever since he was in the war. But do we have a sense of when he actually started to write The Hobbit? Sit down and write a novel? Do we have any idea if that was a 2-year process, a 3-year process, a 5-year process?
I'd have to do the research and crunch the numbers.
So
I'm sure you there in the same length of time that I could get off the show and stop talking with the audience. That audience member is going to go out there and research it and tell us in the live chat. I'm sure.
Yeah, the chatters are part of the show. But where I'm going
Professor Tolkien was born in South Africa in 1892. So, yeah. You subtract 1937 from that.
Yeah, 45 years old. So, let me ask you this. There's a new feature film with a considerable budget, not an independent film, but a feature film starring Nicholas Hoult and I think one of the actresses from the Crown, I think, or something. So Nicholas Hoult, who most people will recognize from the X-Men movies as the Beast. What else was he in? He was in some other stuff. He's playing
Mad
Tolkien.
Max Fury Road.
Oh yeah, he was the crazy
energetic
kid.
lead in Mad Max Fury Road, right?
So, do you think we're going to get in this movie starring Nicholas Hoult a 45-year-old Tolkien publishing his first book, or will they not even touch on the effort to write and publish yet? Is this movie just about Tolkien and his early life outside of
Well, I wonder. I am deeply interested in that question. We have no knowing, except we saw one photograph from the production where he's very, very young, in his early 20s, and he's meeting Edith, and starting his courtship. It's obvious that he's having a little talk, a romantic talk with the actress who plays Edith, who will later in that story become his wife. So
there's pictures already out?
I'm sorry?
Yes, there are pictures. I think if you go to IMDb.
There's only one or two pictures from the Dome Karakowski directed biopic of Professor Tolkien. So Justin, to your question, I would really love to know how far into his literary life they go. But it looks like he's playing him very young in that shot, but we don't know anything else.
So is this trying to appeal to Hannah's generation? Get a couple hot actors and attach a life story to it?
Yeah, I feel like that's what would happen, because you see that with a lot of films these days. Well, this lighting is super dramatic. I'm gonna move somewhere else. Hold on. Wait. That is way better.
That's hilarious.
I feel like that's what would happen, but also I think it would start, like, the beginning point where they would springboard off of that would be where he's in the Battle of Somme, to kind of get the ball rolling, and then, like, it shows, like, oh yeah, he has all these ideas, and then he's grading papers, and he's like, oh, I don't know. That's my speculation. But
what do you think would get your friends, Hannah, at high school to see a movie about Tolkien? I mean, the casting already obviously is it. I mean, what would appeal to them? What movies are they seeing right now?
Well, you see, actually, a lot of people are becoming very interested in Lord of the Rings at my school, which is odd to me, because just because of the Amazon deal. So it's becoming something kind of like Harry Potter. Like, I've gotten text messages where it's like, hey, Hannah, I know that you like Lord of the Rings. I'm curious, what would I be? And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like a character, a race? Oh, you mean like a house? No. I mean, if you're talking about families, the hobbits, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, a lot of people are getting really interested in Lord of the Rings because of that, just Tolkien. But I think, to answer your question, I think if an actor or an actress that they really, more likely an actor that they really liked was in the film, like I think who's the guy that everybody likes right now? Like Sprouse. Dylan O'Brien, I think that's his name, or Ezra Miller. Yeah, if they were in there, and if it was like, dramatic and supposed to be,
it looks like a love story. It looks like a straight up, kind of, teenage loves, young love thing, not teenage.
Oh yeah, 20. Then if it's like a young adult love thing, or like, yeah, down with the government, everybody's cool, like a Maze Runner type thing, or Hunger Games or whatever, then people would go and watch that,
I just saw Maze Runner today.
Oh.
The Death Cure. There's an interesting comparison that comes to mind, because the Hunger Games and the Maze Runner films have started off strong. The early films are the strongest. And then by the time they get done, everybody's just, meh. This is kind of pedestrian. At least we got through it. At least it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what's more interesting to me is that the Harry Potter films and the Lord of the Rings films also, very specifically, started strong and got better. And the movies got better and stronger as they went along.
Mhm.
It is so hard to maintain that. Narnia did not pull it off. I mean,
Oh.
wait. Prince Caspian was a much stronger film, much better than Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But Voyage of the Dawn Treader was a disaster. It was a turkey. It's just such a turkey.
I think it depends on who you ask. I mean, I'm a person that's kind of my guilty pleasure. Like, you know, the not Narnia, Alice in Wonderland films that Tim Burton was in charge of. Like, they're not good films, but I like them.
Oh God.
You know?
We all have hey, like David Lynch's Dune, we all have a soft spot for a big turkey. We all have a guilty pleasure. I understand that. But no, Tim Burton didn't do the second Alice film. That was garbage. Through the Looking Glass was just a mess.
Yeah, it was a bad movie. It was a bad movie.
But they're beautiful to watch.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
It was nice. And it was even more nice to look at because Richard Armitage was in it.
All right.
You're like, enough with you. No more.
I just gotta say that it's interesting that the Maze Runner energy just petered out by the time you get to this last film. And it is kind of pedestrian. You're like, okay, let's get it over with. But do you think the Hobbit films got stronger or weaker through the three of them? Be honest. Be honest now.
That's hard. That's really hard.
Everybody complained nobody dies until the end.
Nobody dies.
You finally have characters who are under genuine threat and they really die. Does that make Battle of the Five Armies better? Was there a shift in tone that made it more Lord of the Ringsy? What do you think?
Definitely towards the end. The Battle of the Five Armies was definitely more Lord of the Rings-esque. But, okay, so my favorite out of all of the Hobbit films is the first one. Like, that is my favorite one.
That seems to be everybody's favorite. I found it
because
slow
it's
and boring.
most like the book. It is most like the book.
That, and I feel like that one has the most. I mean, all of them have heart, but I feel like that one has the most heart. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was younger, I loved all of them, and I mean, I still do. But I think they could have been better. But you know, when you get done watching Unexpected Journey, you go into Desolation of Smaug, and you're like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. And then it kind of is like, that wasn't that bad. I wish, it could have been like the first one, Well,
it's just Richard Armitage in a heroic wheelbarrow. Dun, 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 the goofy ass wheelbarrow. I mean,
I thought that was fun.
It was so much fun.
It was fun, but it was kind of cheesy. Like you could tell when they're making the golden dwarven statue, that was just kind of, I don't like this. It was just kind of time, like, okay, yeah, kind of filler.
So will there be uproar if they stray too far from Tolkien's actual life story in the book? Is his life interesting enough, the story, without embellishment? Or do you think, taking some creative liberties? Again, I think they should the Tolkien movie starring Nicholas Hoult would be fun to go in a direction similar to Finding Neverland. Speaking of Johnny Depp and Alice in Wonderland, Johnny Depp played Finding Neverland, the author of Peter Pan. Was that J.M. Barrie? No.
Yep.
Yeah. and they used this idea of things that happened in his own life, the author's life, that you could totally see influence the characters and some of the things that happen in his stories without specifically pointing it out to. The thing I'm concerned about with the Tolkien movie is that will they create a Gollum-like figure in real life?
I think they will do a degree, maybe. Yeah, maybe to a degree they would, to show like the influence, or maybe not necessarily a character, more of like a mood, because that's how I see Gollum. Whenever not as a character, but more as an inspiration, like more of just like a mood of I forgot what I was gonna say.
Hey, speaking of Gollum, there's a lot of conversation in the chat room today. I don't know if you guys can are seeing this, but there's a ton of discussion on Gollum and Frodo at the Crack of Doom, and the theory is, and Cliff, please chime in. The theory is that the ring could not physically be thrown into the fire. It could only fall down in an accident, like Gollum slipping and falling. But it was the strength of the ring was so powerful, Sauron's will was so powerful that no being could ever purposely destroy it. True or false? True or false?
We're losing your audio, Justin.
Yeah, it's really fuzzy.
It just garbled and slowed down.
That's kind
of. Oh my goodness.
Okay, you're back now.
All right.
I heard the question, and I got it. No, I have to think about that for half a second.
Is the will of the ring so powerful and Sauron's will so strong that it cannot be thrown by any creature of any significance?
I don't know. Elrond, half-elven, seemed quite ready, willing, and able to throw it at that moment. And he should have pushed Isildur over the edge. Would have saved everyone a lot of trouble. He should have pushed Isildur over the edge. It would have saved everyone a lot of trouble. But Elrond is a good example. I do not think, because I'm really cautious about making sweeping categorical statements like this. You got to be cautious because Professor Tolkien himself doesn't have anything indicated in his private writings or in his notes or letters saying that no one would ever have been able to do it. He goes on and on. He writes letters to fans. That's why you guys need to get a copy of Tolkien's published letters. You wouldn't spend any time debating, hypotheticals like this, because you would know that Tolkien wanted to demonstrate the extent of Frodo's grace. Frodo not killing Gollum when he had many chances, and when Gollum betrayed him yet again, Frodo still did not kill him, and that's why Gollum was left alive to be there at the crucial time, because of Frodo's choice to not kill Gollum. He showed mercy, the kind of mercy and restraint that is shown very clearly and visually in An Unexpected Journey, when Martin Freeman hesitates for that moment to actually kill Gollum when he has the chance. And so it leads to that dialogue where Gandalf tells Frodo, even the wise cannot see all ends. Maybe Gollum has a part to play here. It is not at that point a metaphysical question about whether the power of the ring was strong enough to stop an individual from doing it. It's more a question of who's going to, be there at the right time when fate has its stroke, of its moment in time. And I would have thought that some strong individuals, like maybe Faramir, maybe Aragorn himself, would have. I think Faramir and Aragorn are very likely candidates to have stood at the Crack of Doom inside Orodruin in Mount Doom, and I think they would have succeeded. I really do.
Pete brings up a great quote. Tolkien says in the letters, Gollum was pitiable, but he ended in persistent wickedness, and the fact that his worked good was no credit to him. His marvelous courage and endurance, as great as Frodo or Sam's, or even greater, being devoted to evil was portentous, but not honorable.
That was a quote from Tolkien?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. I have to say thank you, North Runner. Thank you, Pete, for finding that. That's well researched. That's very good, and it's true. We're getting a text message here on the hotline saying, do you think Jeff Bezos and the Amazon team will stay true to the material, or at least give us a Peter Jackson-style presentation? Or do we expect elves and orcs to look very different? I don't know. Has anybody seen the movie Bright with Will Smith and Joel Edgerton on Netflix? Well,
the orc one?
He plays an orc. Well, that style, that design of an orc that Joel Edgerton is playing is a very, very different looking orc than the one in Warcraft. It's very different from the orcs that are in Lord of the Rings. So, as you can see, with this new movie, Bright, there's a lot of bandwidth for what orcs might be designed and look like. That is a really tough question. Everybody wants to know whether the Amazon production is going to hire Weta and keep design elements uniform. And that means the culture, the weapons, the architecture of the dwarves, the elves, the men of Gondor makes you wonder. If they don't hire Weta and they hire a bunch of different art department people, then the jig is up. Anything goes.
I think they would be smart to at least incorporate what we know, like with hobbits, if they're like, oh yeah, no, they're not going to have curly hair, because even the Ralph Bashki one, the hobbits have curly hair.
Yes, they did.
It seems to, but
had furry feet, correctly so.
But if they deter from that, I think the backlash will be bad.
Well, let me ask you this.
So really, speaking as a fan from the fan audience, Hannah, you expect them to keep a consistency in design from Peter Jackson's films? Really?
I think they will. I mean, if they're smart, they will. They should. Because creative license, go wild, but at least keep it to where it's recognizable.
Well, they don't.
And true to the.
That might be. I love that idea, but they don't have to hold to Warner Brothers concepts. They've got no contractual obligation to stay true to something else as an intellectual property that Warner Brothers owns. They have no binding. There's nothing that's keeping them to that. So I'm sitting on.
They would be smart to do it.
Yeah, let me ask you this: do you watch Game of Thrones? Have you seen any of the episodes of Game of Thrones?
Actually, I have not, but I'm going to start watching it. The only thing that I've ever watched from Game of Thrones, the two only things that I watched from Game of Thrones are one character having gold like melted on them, and then the little king dying, the poisoning. Other than that, I've never seen.
Okay, we're in a new era right now. Do you think the hobbits should be played by actual short-statured people now that there is a new renaissance from actors like Peter Dinklage, and Kieran Shaw, rather than playing a stunt double? We never see Kieran Shaw's actual face in Lord of the Rings. He was Frodo himself. We never saw him. Could Kieran Shaw and Peter Dinklage play as themselves, as actual Hobbit characters?
I think. That would be a little funny to see Peter Dinklage as a Hobbit, though. Because, whenever I imagine Peter Dinklage, I think of the character he played in Elf.
Yeah.
Say him an Gandalf one more time. But yeah, no.
Well,
I mean, like,
question
I don't
for the
think
chat
anybody would
room. I wanna hear your guys' feedback again. Text us, Cliff. Text me and Cliff. The phone number is scrolling at the top of the page, and put in the chat room on Facebook and YouTube. I want to know. Do you want to see actual real short statured people play hobbits now that there's a new renaissance of people in the acting profession that are
Warwick
the right
Davis,
size of hobbits.
Warwick Davis has had his own
Warwick
successful
Davis.
show. Of course.
Yeah.
Could be
So
interesting.
I just hope that they hire Lee Pace as Thranduil. Like I just
Yeah.
want more Lee Pace on television.
or at least if they get another actor, this is more so for you, Justin. But let him have the eyebrows. They gotta keep the eyebrows,
Oh
man.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
And they gotta name them this time. They have to name them.
Well, let me tell you some of the buzz coming out of Sundance. While Cliff was holding it down, I got to hear some of the Amazon buzz. Amazon had their own had their own thing where people could talk to people from Amazon studios at Sundance.
Mm-hmm.
They were acquiring some projects there. They had some stuff, and I can tell you the buzz right now is not good. There's been no creative decisions announced regarding Lord of the Rings, but the buzz in Hollywood and amongst creators and other shows is that the crazy price tag of $500 million that they paid for Lord of the Rings, people feel that it's so rich, it's so expensive, other shows are getting canceled because of that rich price. In fact,
I thought it was $250 million.
It's $250 million to the Tolkien estate, $250 million committed for production.
Ah, yes, as well. Yep, that's right.
So 2 weeks ago, Amazon canceled like 5 of their current Prime series, including a couple of LGBT focused shows, a couple dramas. Basically, the general feeling, at least for the creative class of Hollywood, is saying they got muscled out of Amazon Prime and Amazon Studios because Lord of the Rings is just costing so much that there's no room for these smaller shows, more genre shows, with very specific audiences. Cliff, have you heard any of that feedback around town in Hollywood?
I saw one. There's one television critic who complained that, and I don't know what you heard at Sundance. I find it interesting that there might be a corroboration, but I read one article by one pissed off TV critic who thought that 1% of the budget of the new Lord of the Rings mega franchise would be more than enough to pay for the full production of one of those smaller, interesting dramas or comedies that they have on Amazon. And therefore, it seems to be a problem that they have not assembled a creative team. If there's anything negative in the buzz about it, maybe it's that eyebrows are being raised at the lack of a cohesive producer or a lead showrunner being named who's going to be like the pivot point, the one person who's going to bring the whole show together and hire all the other writers and staff and people. But they haven't announced anybody yet.
Well, let me ask you this, Cliff. You are you've written several books about Tolkien fandom. You were on the set of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and you know all the mechanics and machinations that went on behind the scenes. Famously, Weta was running out of money on Return of the King, and they said,
really?
"Hey, this is costing more than we needed, more than we budgeted." And Warner Brothers put up more money. So everyone wants Weta to work on this TV show.
Oh, okay.
Can can Weta work at that same capacity that we expect on a TV show budget?
I think that they could, but if they were given enough time, instead of what happened with The Hobbit, where it's like, okay, well, Del Toro is gone, so now we gotta muscle. I don't know how to speak English today. I'm sorry. I'm gonna start speaking in the black language of Mordor.
I was gonna say, do you want to try Quenya? Maybe that'll be a little bit easier.
No, I speak Sindarian. But yeah, but I think they could do it, but just give them enough time to know ahead of time, so a better product will be turned out. Yeah.
Cliff, I mean, what do you think? You know how much this stuff costs, and television budgets are much smaller, and they have much faster time frames. I mean, if everyone's complaining about the reason The Hobbit was less is because they didn't have enough time. You and I both know that television production is Speedy Gonzales compared to even The Hobbit.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's true. Hannah, you also know this. But the thing is, you're take a look at Star Trek Discovery and look at how beautifully produced that show is. It is amazing what the visual effects team has done. The way it's photographed, that show looks like an expensive $130 million J.J. Abrams blockbuster. So you never know. And that's just regular, that's at the current network level producing a high budget show. Amazon has a different platform, and as you know, a very different method of distributing the show. They don't have to obey the same production timeline that HBO does or that other people do. They can take their time if they want. They really can. But I know you're right. They will want to start making some moves very soon. They've spent this money on it so far. The fact that they haven't really announced anybody to be the showrunner yet is a bit of a head scratcher.
Tiffany Broadway in the chat room says, I heard that they budgeted $1 billion. We've not heard $1 billion. We've only heard 250 and 500 million. But I wouldn't be surprised. And that's what everyone at Sundance was nervous about, that everything's riding on Lord of the Rings when it comes to Amazon. Everything. Like, if it comes down to cancel all other Amazon series and put all that money into Lord of the Rings, there's only one choice. The Lord of the Rings has to succeed.
Amazon has a lot of money. You're acting as if they have limited funds, dude.
Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the history of the world.
I think he has a point there. I mean, they have a lot of money, but not, a lot to shell out on the series. So they would probably have to cancel some, not all, but.
That's what everyone's fears are. But Cliff, you have a point. Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the history of the world. Right now,
Bill Gates was
more than J. Paul Getty,
more than the movie trailers of the J. Paul Getty, the new richest man in the history.
By the way, Christopher Plummer is so amazing in that movie. All the Money in the World is really, really, really good. I really enjoyed it, and it is stunning to see that Kevin Spacey was so rapidly replaced out of that entire film, and Christopher Plummer stepped in, and less than a few weeks later he's going to get an Oscar, believe it or not. Wow. But anyways, he was a rotten rich bastard, J. Paul Getty. It makes me wonder Yeah, El Kylo. Mr. Jeff Bezos, if he's got more money than J. Paul Getty, I'm a little surprised that they're canceling any shows at all. They've got enough money to keep all those shows afloat. It's just a bit weird. But
Yeah,
as you pointed out, Justin, you said now that The Lord of the Rings is the 1%. It's now considered the richest 1% of projects. You said that as an analogy.
And I wonder, like, I don't think anyone's done this yet. I wonder, Cliff, if we should have a post on the One Ring, a researched post, maybe for future discussion. But let's take a look at the budgets of every season of Game of Thrones and add it up and multiply it by 2, because the demands of Lord of the Rings is even greater than anything Game of Thrones produced.
Has HBO ever released numbers, their production budgets?
They have.
I don't know.
They're a public company, they're well, I guess they're part of Warner Brothers, so they don't have to break out their finances. But I'm sure they've trumpeted, like, we've spent $100 million this season. That'd be an interesting thing to look at, comparative series like Game of Thrones and Star Trek Discovery, even Hannibal. With the show was just beautifully shot and produced. Every dollar was on screen. So, but Game of Thrones, man, like, what were the budgets on that?
Okay.
I'm curious.
We should compare that.
By the way, I did the research when you asked how long did it take for Professor Tolkien to write The Hobbit. He says that he had the job done in 2 years.
2 years. There you go.
Wow.
Yep. Took him 2 years to write it, but it was not published until 1937, which was about 3 years or so after he was done with it.
Famously, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, as we've mentioned, The Hobbit was revised before the publication of The Lord of the Rings as well.
Let me ask you this: is there any record of impetus or inspiration?
Justin, you might need to plug in the plug for your headphones or something, because it sounds like it's about to fall out.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
It's like buzzing.
Yeah, it's buzzing bad. What is that?
Oh, I don't hear it.
I do.
I do too.
Is that gone?
That's the fun. Hey guys, we're doing a live show, and thank you guys on Facebook for joining us, and Twitter and Ustream and Periscope and all the other live platforms. I just want to say thank you for joining us, but this sometimes happens. We get technical jiggery pokery that gets weird on the show sometimes. So
is that better?
No.
It's worse.
No. Okay, hold on.
Oh, so I looked up the cost for the Game of Thrones. So in season 1 for Game of Thrones, to make one episode, it was like $6 million. That's what it says right here. I don't know about that. Per episode. And then in season 2, it was closer to $7 million. And then
wow.
Season 6. Oh, this is a lot. $10 million per episode.
Are you kidding me? Like, really? Wow, guys, that's insane.
Netflix is. Oh, wait. Yeah, Netflix is paid $8 million per episode for the second season of Stranger Things.
Okay,
this has got to be the most expensive TV series ever made. I'm just calling it out. It has to be. We demand it. The fans demand it.
Demand it. Wow, you've got some serious audio glitch happening, buddy. It's funny hearing you talk like this right now. But let me interject here, Hannah. I'm so glad you found those numbers. Wind back the clock to 1987, when Paramount released Star Trek: The Next Generation. It was the first time we met Captain Jean-Luc Picard, who would later, Patrick Stewart, would become Charles Xavier.
And then the poop emoji from the Emoji Movie.
That's right. And he would be the poop emoji.
Yeah!
Paramount was spending money on Star Trek at the rate of $1 million per episode. And that was outrageously expensive for a 1987 yearly budget. It may have been less. So now we're at $10 million per episode.
Do I sound better now?
Pretty crazy. So, okay, hold on.
It's like 30 years later, and like,
Do I sound better now?
Yes.
Yeah, you're fine now.
Okay, so 10 million an episode, and look, I don't think we should focus on the numbers, and I think it's smart not to focus on the numbers, but we all know that every dollar, when it comes to TV, every dollar goes up on screen. We need, and I don't think there's a way to do this show anything less than practical effects, forced perspective, all the tricks that Peter Jackson used in The Lord of the Rings. Don't do it on green screens. Don't do it at Culver City Studios, where actors can go home at night, for the 4 months of production. Like, this has got to be built sets, forced perspective.
Maybe. What did Jon Favreau pull off with the live action The Jungle Book? All that shit was filmed downtown LA in exactly the environment that you said not to use. And it turned out to be the most effective, and the illusion of it all was flawless. It was flawless.
And I hear Lion King is even better.
I think it's fine for something like The Jungle Book because how would you pull that off? But with Lord of the Rings, I mean, this is coming from somebody who's like really big into practical effects. I mean, when I start getting into bigger budgets, that's what I'm doing instead of CGI if I'm able to. But just I don't think there's any other way for them to do the effects than practical, unless it's like something like majorly big, So
do the Hobbit characters? Do the Hobbit characters and the Bjorns and those type of characters become CGI creations, total motion capture, so everyone can perform on the same stage, and only the human-sized actors are real? And everything else is designed digitally. Are we there yet?
That's hard. That's a hard call.
But I don't want to go down that path. No. No. Because then it just looks like a video game.
These are tough questions. If they use short people, actual actors like Peter Dinklage and all these wonderful actors that we've seen to play hobbits. Only a child to your eyes, to quote Aragorn. Or, they could do mocap, or they could hire big-name actors, as they did before, Elijah Wood and everything.
Ryan Gosling as Fatty Bulger. I don't know.
As Pippin's brother.
My God, no, he's not. My God, you're crazy. All right, well, I personally, as a fan, I am such. I'm into practical effects and the bigatures, and I love the way that this stuff looks when it's shot on film. I much less appreciate when things are shot digitally, but I mean, it's such a difference. Really, call me old school, but I'm sitting down here with Christopher Nolan and the Quentin Tarantino camp thinking, give me 35 or 70 millimeter film all the way, especially for the way you want the show to look, because people did not react well to the high frame rate of The Hobbit at 48 frames per second.
Let me ask you this, Cliff, about locations.
It's true that Peter Jackson introduced a lot of problems when trying to shoot digitally, instead of the way he did The Lord of the Rings,
Yeah, I think that was a big issue. With Lord of the Rings, he had cut his teeth on 10 horror films. And he had to factor in 3D. So because he was using 3D on the Hobbit films, he was no longer able to use simple in-camera tricks like forced perspective. Hey, Cliff, you and I have traveled this country many times over. You know, a lot of people are saying New Zealand is Middle Earth. But you and I both know, even within Southern California, there is an abundance of terrain that is similar to what we've seen. You know, the rocky grasslands of Rohan can be, you know, eastern San Diego County, you know, Anza Borrego. You know, could they do this? Could they shoot Middle Earth in Southern California on a TV show schedule?
No, not in Southern California. Southern California couldn't. They'd have to go and get some shots of mountains. They'd have to go and shoot some exteriors in the Great Plains of Oklahoma. They'd have to pick up some things in other parts of this country to take advantage of the unique geography that the United States has. I don't think it could all be done just in Southern California. A lot of it could be, but then a lot of it would look like all the other stuff where we recognize every background of every TV show, every cop show, every stupid movie, every indie. We're like, oh yeah, that's in Griffith Park. Oh, I recognize those trees. They're in Griffith Park. Or they're right outside of Forest Lawn over there.
You and I know that. I mean, locals in New Zealand know all about those places. The Paths of the Dead. Everyone in New Zealand is like, oh, that's that that's that thing. Or, you know, where they shot Minas Tirith. You know, that's like, oh, that's the old rock
where the rock quarry was in the Upper Hutt. The Upper Hutt, that suburban neighborhood just north of Wellington.
Just because locals know, I mean, doesn't mean. Look, I'm just cautious. You know, hearing some of the backlash over the price tag of Lord of the Rings that people in Hollywood, people that make good shows, are feeling muscled out.
Yeah, I know.
How do we stem that? I mean, if people, before it's even in production, people are already giving Lord of the Rings a hard time and are willing to not enjoy and not like the Lord of the Rings series because they got muscled out, and so you won't have that buzz. You know, you'll have this negative buzz of like this. You know, oh, they're starting production on a show that canceled my show. You know, how do we change the conversation on that, or is it
any smart contract worker in this town is already sending their resume over to the other production house for Lord of the Rings? Okay, sorry, but that's the nature of it. I mean, even popular shows like Community could not even get their rabid fan base to regenerate the show at another location. You know, I mean, if you're losing your job because they're shutting down your production, right, Hannah, and you're a photographer or you're a set decorator or somebody, you just send your resume to the next gig. That's what it's like in this town.
That's true.
That's what it's like in this town. So being practical, why hold on to professional resentment? Why not just send your resume in and work on the other show? I'm sorry?
I said then people would be jaded as well. I mean, you know, that's how it works here, where you just send your resume to like the next person who's hiring or whatever. But you know, that feeling is still going to be with you, where it's like, oh, well, my show got canceled for you know
that writers and creators. Yeah,
I don't know.
I get that.
Yeah,
I get the pain. I can understand a little bit of that, but the harsh reality is everybody in this town is looking for the next gig. That's Hollywood.
That's definitely true.
There are no guarantees.
Yeah, Cliff, do you remember when Lord of the Rings was being filmed? Any discussion over the crazy budget that New Line had committed to the movie, and you know what the conversation was like at the time? I just remember that, you know, when they were making Titanic, James Cameron, you know, it was supposedly the most expensive movie ever made, and they basically everyone predicted Titanic to fail just because it was so expensive. It was so expensive that Fox had to bring in Paramount to co-finance it.
Yeah, the negative buzz around Titanic was, before its release, it was overwhelming negative buzz. And it was called, you know, Cameron's Folly.
Just like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was Disney's folly. He's betting the whole...
Exactly.
So was there any of that conversation with New Line Cinema?
No, because, excuse me for coughing, I'm getting rid of a leftover cough. No, New Line didn't have to worry about that because they had pre-sold foreign markets. Thank you. That looks delicious.
But so there was no discussion, or there was little discussion that New Line had basically bet $150 million and their entire studio budget on this.
The bet was that the Fellowship of the Ring had to perform well, or the next two films would be so drastically reduced in post-production that they'd be shoved off to video only as a second thought. And they would not get theatrical release. They wouldn't bother with the ad campaign for it or anything. And they would dramatically cut all the money back based upon the performance of Fellowship of the Ring. Bless you, dear.
Thank you.
So
the phantom sneeze right there. That's what that was.
Oh, there you go. There you go. But New Line Cinema had covered their bases because they had pre-sold all the foreign territories for the release of Fellowship, and that covered all their expenses. But they weren't going to dump any more into what was going to be obvious future expenses for a second and third film because the post-production on those was still pending.
So there was no discussion that, Lord of the Rings was so expensive, committing to 3 movies and $150 million, no matter if it was pre-sold or not, just that commitment that the studio is basically making, one movie or committed to one movie. Whereas, with Titanic and Fox, they were still making a bunch of movies. It wasn't like, the entire Fox studio was bet on Titanic. It was just an expensive thing, and it crowded the noise, the noise before its release. So that's what I fear is happening now, is that we're already seeing blogs and news reports that the Lord of the Rings is the most expensive show ever made, and people want to hate. And it feels like Titanic again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does. I can see that. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in Bob Shaye's office at New Line Cinema back in 1999, going into 2000, trying to figure out how much risk they, making a movie in general is all about risk management. It is a high risk, very high risk investment for anybody to put that much money into a single product, which has to be marketed and sold effectively, or nobody makes any of that money back on such a high-risk investment. And that's the movie business. It's the way it is. I would have loved to have heard Bob Shaye talking in his office, worried about the box office of Fellowship of the Ring. And I would have been equally happy to see the looks on their faces when Fellowship of the Ring was the most critically acclaimed and biggest box office success that blew the roof off the place. I would love to have seen the champagne bottles popping open at New Line's office. Because they were.
Here's another thing that I heard at Sundance, and this is just conversation, just conjecture at this point. But as you know, television shows rely on tax breaks and tax credits wherever they shoot. In fact, they chose to shoot the X-Files in Vancouver. They chose to shoot, The Walking Dead in Georgia because they get tax credits.
Right.
Whatever the budget is for the TV series, that they bring to the local economy, the state will give a refund back in tax breaks. So, yeah. Amazon owns Lord of the Rings. Jeff Bezos. What is Amazon doing right now? He put out a call to say, we want to open a second office, Amazon's second headquarters. And he asked all cities and states around the country to see what tax breaks he can get nationwide to build Amazon's second headquarters.
Yeah, man, I've been following this in the news for a long time. It's really interesting to see.
Isn't it going to be in Pomona?
That's one of the places that's on the list. So what's to stop Jeff Bezos doing what he already does, and the television show doing what TV shows already do? Is basically, we've got Lord of the Rings. It's going to be a big cast. It's going to be a big production. Who wants it? What state, what country wants it? And now you're introducing another tactic. Like, what could they shoot Lord of the Rings in Albuquerque, New Mexico? Could they shoot it in Louisiana? Could they shoot it in Georgia? And do you think that's even part of the conversation right now? Because Bezos is doing it in all his other businesses.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things is shot in Georgia, and it's supposed to be set in Indiana. So you can successfully make one area look like another area of the country, but you can't make Arizona look like Middle Earth. That's ridiculous that you even said that.
Can't you?
No.
Well, some geographical places, maybe.
But Cliff, you just said they could shoot it like Jungle Book.
Well, who's going to build a new green screen facility in Arizona when they've got all these facilities here?
Well, tax breaks, The
tax breaks are very, very important nowadays. But
Dave Gentry just chimed in the chat room, says, all I know is at this point, Warner Brothers is ruining some of my favorite franchises. DC Comics has suffered. I think The Hobbit could have been better had WB not been involved. And the short answer is, I think that's accurate. And I think that's why Amazon is leading the charge. Do we have any inclination that Warner Brothers is involved in production?
No, we have no inclination of that at all. But you know what? I really understand the complaint about Warner Brothers and what they're doing to Justice League, the DC Extended Universe.
Well, at least Wonder Woman was good. That's snub, though.
Yes,
total
it was
snub.
Great.
Yeah!
Not even a director, nothing.
I know,
Nothing.
Patty Jenkins. I'm gonna stop before I throw something.
And how did they award the Grammys to all men except one award? Like every Grammy award went to a guy, including Ed Sheeran.
It's weird. That's what it
Ed Sheeran
is.
was up against 4 women, and he still won. For
That
Shape
weird?
of You.
It's rigged. It's rigged.
Ugh.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. I'm I was about to rip someone a new
No,
one.
but what I'm saying is that we've been to Albuquerque. There are places near Albuquerque that look like Rohan. They could definitely dress up, but craggy, brush rock. Look, we've been to Georgia, Cliff. The Smoky Mountains look like the Misty Mountains. The Misty Mountains could be shot in Georgia.
Rohan was misrepresented in the Peter Jackson films. They didn't get it right.
Whoa!
Just to say this, for the record, when you read the book, Hannah, you're with me on this? The grasslands of Rohan do not have rocks and rocks here and there and crags and rocks here and there. It is sweeping, wide, empty grassland. And in the area of New Zealand where Peter Jackson shot everything that's Rohan, there are just rocks everywhere. So many rocks. And there aren't any. There just aren't any. I'm really talking about Nebraska fields of corn and grass going flat. So, no, you cannot make Arizona look like Rohan. No, I'm putting my foot down.
You scared Justin.
I did.
Wow.
I did.
Wow. Well,
I hate to say this, but Rohan in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and any original trilogy fan can come at me if they want to come at me. My Twitter is QuickBeam2000. My Instagram is QuickBeam2000. I'm telling you, look at some of the old paintings of Rohan that were done by Darrell K. Sweet or by the Hildebrandt brothers from the 70s. Read the passages in the book, The Lord of the Rings, and you'll realize how very specific Professor Tolkien describes it. And I never once saw Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn lost in their necks up to a sea of tall grass.
Jesse
Never saw
says
saw
Rohan to
that.
me was like Dances with Wolves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
So
a
they
pretty
should
good
shoot this
description.
whole thing in the Dakotas, in Montana.
Well, just those scenes for Rohan. There's nothing else in the Dakotas that could
Or
look like.
Wyoming. There's like 2 people there, so.
Come on, if it's going to look like Mordor, then you go to Arizona and make some of the blasted desert Mordor. Okay.
This is
Come
interesting. This is interesting. Well, so if they shoot in America, what area of Middle Earth should the TV series focus on first? Should it be Mordor?
Hannah, you want to take this one?
Okay. Numenor would be really cool to see. Yeah.
Yes, and we can.
That'd be really, really cool.
Can see it. Yeah.
I don't know though.
What's Numenor? Where is it? Is it north?
Oh my God.
Okay, so it's
Just smack.
Hold on. Memory.
Yeah.
It's north of the Shire, like northeast. I think. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up a map to see if I'm.
No, Hannah, I love you, but Numenor was the island continent that was off in the middle of the ocean, and it got sunk and destroyed in a cataclysm, just analogous to Atlantis.
Hey,
In fact, the Elvish word for Numenor was Atalante. It is Tolkien's version of the sunken continent of Atlantis.
where would you
Way
like
out-
to be an extra in the TV series?
Yeah, sure. I'd be down.
Where would you like to be? Would you like to be a man, an elf, a dwarf, a hobbit, an ent?
Yeah, I'd like to be an Ent. I am
motion
already.
capture
I'd love-
ent? A motion capture ent.
Yes, I would love to be a motion capture Ent. That would be gobsmacking. Awesome. Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. No. Never mind.
What does Hannah
Never
want
mind.
to be?
I was thinking of something else. I'm so sorry.
You're thinking of Arnor, the kingdom of Arnor in the north?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's
Is
Is
that's what I was
Aragorn a
thinking of. I was all
Numenorian? Aragorn's from Numenor? Atlantis?
The last of their Numenorian bloodline. That's right.
Okay. This makes sense. Hannah,
Yeah.
if you could be an extra,
A
what
hobbit!
would you be? You would be
Done.
a hobbit.
A hobbit. I am a hobbit as it is. Done. That's all. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I'd like to be a
I would
dwarf.
be a hobbit in physical form. Yeah.
Should the dwarves be played by dwarf actors?
Nah, I think it depends.
No, I like the idea of using people and forced perspective. I do. It's
Let me
worked
ask you
rather
this, Cliff. The Jungle Book was amazing. Beauty and the Beast was amazing. They even replaced Billy Connolly's character, the dwarf. What was his name?
Dane
Yeah.
Ironfoot.
Dane Ironfoot. It's a complete CG recreation. Could they do all CG dwarves in this TV
Oh.
series? They
No.
could.
No.
They could.
No.
I'm on
No.
board for that. I'm on.
No,
No,
it
you're
will
not.
look like a video game.
No, it
It's gonna
doesn't.
look like a
Dane
video-
Ironfoot looks great.
No, he doesn't. I'm sorry. I love Weta so much, but
No, but
Look-
Dane Ironfoot looked weird. He looked like he was made out of some weird wax or something.
no, he looked like he was straight out of a video game.
That was 5 years
Yeah.
ago. By the time they go into production, we're talking like some of the best motion capture. I think they could do the dwarves all digital.
Do you know what, Justin? No dogs allowed. No,
Oh man.
it's not happening.
Hey,
It's not
well,
happening.
look, we've got to wrap this up. This has been an
we?
interesting conversation
Hold on.
about.
I want to bring in before we close this conversation this very thoughtful text that came on the hotline.
Okay.
The hotline 530-64 Frodo, and it's from M. Lorian. Did you see this?
Go ahead.
Yeah, there it is. Cross. Look at this. She says, "I think that the Lord of the Rings portrayals are those which are getting the masses most excited about returning to Middle-earth, the place that Peter Jackson and his team visualized through Tolkien's stories. Going on, Imlorian says, I understand some people want a fresh take on Tolkien's world, but I think that separating it, at least from the visual style and look of the original films, would disrupt the continuity established over 6 films and discourage many people from investing as much time and money into something visually unrelatable, especially something which has permeated pop culture so profoundly over the past 15 years. End of line.
Do you think there's room in this new series for a more pop culture slant to the point where Leonard Nimoy's Ballad of Bilbo Baggins and that type of
Imlorian, I'm sorry, is a guy. I didn't say she. I mean, I did say she by mistake. I meant to say he. He's asking a very thoughtful question. Go on, Justin.
No, I was just going to say that, you know, the fandom in the 60s, as you've written about in your books, Cliff, you know, where Leonard Nimoy was singing the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins, a very pop culture, you know, thing with little sundresses and blah, blah, blah. You know, does this show lend itself to making Lord of the Rings a more pop culture focused thing? You know,
actually, they were wearing T-shirts and capri pants. But yeah, okay. Going on.
You know what I'm saying, though. Like,
only you would know something like that. Only you would know something like that, and that it's amazing. It's amazing. Literally amazing.
Everybody my age knows the Leonard Nimoy video. Everybody knows it. Hannah, do you know it?
Of course I do.
Okay. Okay.
Would you agree that there's no room in Peter Jackson's Middle-earth for such nonsense as that song?
Okay, so basically, this is what I think would happen. It would be a drinking song.
Okay.
There you go. A drinking song. Because it's playful. Yeah, that's about it. It fits.
You know.
That's about it.
And
yeah, a drinking song, Green Dragon and Merry and Pippin dancing, singing.
And if this show is set between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, it is appropriate that the rumors of this Bilbo Baggins character, you know, unleashing Smaug and helping the dwarves reclaim Erebor, I mean, there could be a Middle-earth reason to have that song.
Yeah, I mean, like, he would become famous to the point where he would be, like, in Middle-earth Vogue or The People of Middle-earth or, you know, something like that. Time Magazine.
Oh, gosh, you're fun. You guys are so funny.
Well, look, all I'm saying is that, you know, we should be prepared for all this media, you know, commentary on just the fact that the price tag is so high that the cards are stacked against the show already, and they don't even have a showrunner. So, you know, we must move forward cautiously, optimistically, and try to divert the conversation away from dollars and put it into, you know, direct the conversation into creative and, you know, doing right by Tolkien and the fans.
Well, they did right by the fans with the video games. We keep getting questions that are interesting about how much of Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor are they going to include in the new Amazon series, if anything. But, you know, those are different licenses, and I would regard that the new license is not going to be related to any of the content from the previous licenses. I would also argue that even though Imlorian makes a passionate and logical plea towards keeping visual continuity in the design, I remind everyone again that Amazon is not beholden to keep their intellectual property looking and smelling like the old Lord of the Rings looks and smells.
Well,
they have a different license.
They would be smart.
Do anything you bloody well want. Go ahead, Hannah. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying they would be really, really smart to keep that old, or the aesthetic of it, you know?
All I know is if they spared no expense and they went out to Rush and they went out to Led Zeppelin and say, help us produce the soundtrack to the new Middle Earth.
Oh, that would be amazing.
My entire family would be tuning into that show day one. Music by Led Zeppelin. Done.
Wow. Do you think they could get a Led Zeppelin reunion going? That would be the best ever. Dude.
I would be very happy.
Dude, that would be
Led
the best
Zeppelin
ever.
has no
that'd be
place
great.
in Peter Jackson's Middle Earth. And this is why I'm excited about Amazon's Middle Earth. If they make room for stuff like that, for Rush to talk about the trees, and for Led Zeppelin to talk about Mordor, the sound of Mordor is the sound of Led Zeppelin. They could sell music. We would tune in. Our parents would tune in. Our grandparents would tune in. That's all.
I agree. I
My
agree.
grandparents don't speak English.
And what language do they speak, dear? we're all sitting here waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Wow. Spanish.
Excellent.
Very
Well,
good.
They have Spanish
Ah,
and Spanish
that
subtitled
was
versions
good.
of everything.
Well,
that was good.
look, this has been a great conversation, guys. Looking forward to
Yes, it has been.
many, many more conversations between the fans. You can tune in every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific. We're live streaming here. As always, check it out on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where all the old videos. In fact, we should spend some time cleaning up our YouTube channel because there's some good stuff in there, like
Yes, we should.
a bunch of clips of the movies and stuff like that. And
Did you do a programming note at the top of the show about why we're not interviewing our surprise guests tonight?
I thought Hannah was our surprise guest.
She is
I'm
our
not
wonderful.
professional.
She's our rotating co-host.
Ah!
Rotating.
Yeah, Now look.
She spins around?
like a revolving door. Look, I just wanted to say, I am apologizing to the audience because I promised everybody that we were going to have a special surprise interview tonight, but we've had a production delay. These things happen, and we're going to reschedule that interview with those guys in a couple of weeks.
Yes. Well, I want to talk to everybody that's involved with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit to get their input. I mean, we should be talking to everybody. Actors, filmmakers, FX artists, DVD people. I want to know.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. We're signing off this week. You can follow theonering.net on all the social. You can follow Cliff at QuickBeam2000 on Instagram and Twitter. And Hannah has 2 different names.
Yes.
What are you on Instagram?
Okay, so I'm Baggins. Baggins is here on Instagram, all together lowercase, and then on Twitter, I am what they call Cimmerillion28.
She shouldn't
right.
have to spell that for you guys. You guys already know how to spell Silmarillion
Yeah, exactly.
with the number 28 at the end.
Hey, did you guys see that really funny tweet that went viral about the text message acronyms from, is your teenager reading the Silmarillion and sexting Silmarillion or, acronyms?
No one
Did you
said
see that?
sexting.
Yeah.
Well, the joke was, are you a concerned parent, concerned that your children are tweeting inappropriate things
your
about
teenagers are texting? Well, we got
I
a
know,
solution
that's the
for you.
You're crazy, guys.
You didn't see that, Justin? It's hilarious. It's got-
goodness.
Oh my gosh, it's
I'm
really
I'm
good.
turning this off. Sexting? Come on. I'm turning this off.
No, it's texting.
it's texting,
Texting.
but the joke is set up as, what are your children texting each other? It's Silmarillion acronyms.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Are you concerned about what the acronyms your child is using? Well, we got a solution for you. This means blah blah blah.
Yeah, I'll send it out. Everybody's going to see it. It's really brilliant.
It's pretty great.
Okay, Justin, thank you for bringing us all together, and thank you for surviving Park City and the experience of Sundance Film Festival and the attendant slam dance across the street, which is, coincidentally, where Ringer's Lord of the Fans won the Audience Award back in the year 2000. Or was it 2002? Yeah, it was 2002, I think. That's when we won the award. It was awesome.
You're an award-winning filmmaker?
Afraid so.
Oh, my.
All right.